Okay, we're back for the week 5 assignment review, and this week we're going to go through all the expressions, and hopefully we'll see some good expressions, some bad expressions, and we'll also look at a few kind of labeling expressions and see where people got it right and where people got it wrong a little bit. Okay, so the first one that I have up is a smile, right? So action unit 12. And if you remember, action unit 12 is zygomatic major, right? So it's kind of flowing along this axis, and that's great. So this all looks reasonably well done for that. I mean, it's a good drawing to start with. But a couple kind of interesting things, right? This looks first like it's an insincere smile or a social smile because it doesn't have any of action unit 6, right? So remember, action unit 6 and 7 we're right here, and if we have 6, we would start to get a little bit of elevation in the infraorbital furrow and also start to get crow's feet. 7, if you remember, starts to tighten the lower lid, right, or tighten the lids together, right, so kind of squints down. Okay, so I don't see either of those. The reason that I actually included this is for action unit 12, right? And just one constructional thing, right? Action unit 12 kind of pulls the corner of the mouth right on the modulus here, which is great, well rendered. But kind of what's going on here that's kind of a little bit misobserved is that when you pull with zygomatic major, you get this characteristic shape where the break in the nasolabial furrow starts to look like this, right? And it kind of hits a corner right here, almost exactly where zygomatic major goes through and turns down, right? And that's what you get. And this one, if you can see where I was, it just kind of goes a little bit too far out. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then kind of a second constructional thing with the smile, and it's kind of revealed pretty significantly in the 3/4 view, right, which is a really hard view to render, but you start to get the lid or the lips pulled a little bit tighter on the teeth, right? So if I just step back a little bit, you see a little bit extra flare here. Typically, that would probably be reduced just as the lips get stretched tight, right? So that becomes more of a neutral surface. And then you have probably also a little bit more convexity right here to match this, right? This is the really nice thing about 3/4 and the malar fat is that you start to see this nice convexity. You see the break that we're just talking about here, right here. And yeah, hopefully if you have a good mental impression of how the skull fits in here, zygomatic major is shooting right towards the right origin. Okay, so that's the first one. Let's see what's next. Okay, quickly continuing on the action unit 12, we're looking at kind of just augmenting what we looked at with some 6 and 7, which this student has rendered very well. Plus 12, right? And there's a little bit of a deficiency in 12. So kind of two things, right? We talked about this last week. Look at the canine tooth, right? So that's going to be where the mouth opens at its default pose, right? So somewhere through here, just lateral to the canine tooth will be kind of the break in the mouth. So I agree, you do get stretch in the mouth when you contract zygomatic major on both sides, but we'll also get elevation in the corner of the mouth. And the upper lip, remember, slides up the teeth, right? That's why in kind of default, your lips are breaking right about here, just a little bit onto the upper teeth, but a full smile brings the part of the mouth, right? You're showing all your upper teeth. So this pull in this direction stretches wide. So for all the people out there who remember their trigonometry, you can break this vector down into two components, one that's stretching wide and one that's stretching up, right? And if you sum those two vectors, you get the origin to insertion of the actual muscle, right? So this component here is stretching wide, so it's stretching the corners and wrapping it, thinning it out over the teeth, and this component here is lifting it, right? So that's sliding it up on the teeth, right? So eventually this guy's going to have serious red lipstick, but you can imagine something possibly more like that, right? And as a result, the lower lip elevates as well, so you don't really see the bottom teeth, especially when the mouth is kind of jaws open like this as well. So that's just a little bit more on the construction here. So let me put some really bad gums in. I think red is probably not the right color for rendering these that have to do with the lips. Okay, but anyways, the important thing is understanding the construction here and how and why the corner of the mouth elevates. Okay, I wanted to show you guys a few kind of identification exercises, and both good ones and bad ones, and also just interesting ones to look at. Okay, so this one actually I think is about right. So kind of gets all of the components that I can see here anyways. So action unit 12, right, zygomatic major. Look at the break. Look at the break that I talked about, right? That's from the first image just a couple slides ago. Action unit 12, right, zygomatic major, smile muscle. 26 is the jaw drop, right, so opening your mouth wide essentially. And then we have action units 1 and 2 giving kind of a full raise of the brow. And when we get the full raise of the brow, we get the really interesting effect of exposing the upper eyelid, right? So essentially all this extra skin that's wrinkling up here comes from right in here, right? And it gets lifted up and it gets pulled tight over the orbital rim right through here, okay? So really there's a lot of form changes that take place through here when action units 1 and 2 activate, right? So all this extra kind of roof fat, this nice crescent shape that we have normally disposing itself over top of the orbital rim, all that's lifted and smoothed, and really you start to see other stuff in there that you wouldn't normally see. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I won't save that one. Let's look at this guy. So action unit 4, right? That's Procerus and corrugator. Okay. We also have, so we give that a check mark. You guys get to see all the pixels here, maybe less than somewhere in the middle. So action unit 9, I agree, action unit 9, right? Because action unit 9 is the nose wrinkler, and so that's what's giving us this. That's what also gives us this nice hook shape right off the wing of the nostril. Okay, action unit 9, approved. Action unit 10, I'm gonna kind of X that one out, because action unit 10 is kind of the wide lip lifter, right? And you get this lift straight up with action unit 9. Action unit 10, if you remember, pulls laterally a little bit, and it also not only does it pull the lip, but it arcs the nasolabial furrow, right? So you get an arc like this, and you also get a raised infraorbital furrow, right? Because if you remember, the actual muscle itself is grabbing on just below the inferior margin of the orbit, right? So margin of the orbit to upper lip. And when you yank that up, it contracts and pushes all the malar fat up and creates kind of a displacement in the infraorbital furrow. Okay? So it's starting to get messy. So no action unit 10. Action unit 17, I'll agree, that's the chin lifter, right, chin raiser, and that is the only levator of the lower lip, right? So that pushes the lower lip up, gives you a little bit of pout there. And I believe, and I agree, that this is combined with action unit 15 in the corners, right? So that's giving us a little bit of stretch here and a little bit of a downward turn. Not too much of this, really. Let me just go back to the original. A lot of this, probably intermediate activation of action unit 15, a lot of the perceived downward turn is to do with both action unit 9 pulling this lip up and 17 pushing kind of the lower lip up as well. So it's a combination of all these things giving us this really pouty lip shape. Okay. This guy is just kind of a classic face, so I thought I'd throw him in. And the only thing that I'm going to dispute on this one, let's go through it. Action unit 10, I agree. That's giving us just what I was talking about. It gives us the wide arc of the nasolabial furrow through here, right? So it's kind of pulling a little bit laterally this way. Pretty well marked, except it doesn't go all the way to the lid, right? Remember what I just said. The way this muscle diagram is drawn is incorrect. Remember, the orbit is going to be in here somewhere. This is where it anchors. So the muscle shape is going to be like that, right? So that gives us this activation here. It gives us this activation. It gives us this shape to the lip, right? A consistent pull in that direction. Action unit 11, I'm going to cross this one out. Action unit 11 is the nasolabial furrow deepener. Just because you have a deep nasolabial furrow doesn't mean action unit 11 is doing anything. And in fact, how this is drawn is incorrect as well. Action unit 11 comes like this. It's kind of, remember, it grabs onto kind of essentially around the nasolabial furrow, right? And it goes, and it actually, some of the fibers actually spiral into the orbicularis oculi, just at the lateral corner, right? So it deepens through here, and probably, well, I'm going to X this out for this particular schematic. I might give it part credit for action unit 11, just as part of the expression pulling laterally here, right? So. Just given the overall expression of disgust, right? It could be a component of that, and it would sit out and pull this way, not this way. Okay, last one, action unit 14. Well, 14 and 17. 17 is kind of given away by these dimples on the chin, right? So if you see that, that's a giveaway for mentalis, so that is pushing up. And action unit 14, yeah, I'll agree, action unit 14, kind of pulling the corners of the mouth in and dimpling a little bit. Okay, so I think that's about it for this one. Anything else on the face? Probably a little bit of 6 and 7, actually. Just looking at the crow's feet happening out here, and the narrowing of the eye. Okay. Let's see, this guy, action unit, this is pretty straightforward. 1 and 2, yes, agreed, full eyebrow raise. 15, just a little bit. In fact, I might not even include 15. I would say more 16, exposed lower teeth, right? Lower lip depressor, and a little bit of 25, right? So lip part, and a little, maybe 26, jaw drop. And that combined is giving us this lip shape. I don't see 15. I don't see the corner of the lip being depressed. I don't see any form created out here where the skin bundles up. So I'm going to X 15, and 16 is approved, 25, 26 added, and a big one to add, which we haven't mentioned yet thus far, is Action Unit 5, right? The lid lifter, right? So it's essentially opening the eyelid. So exposing the white up here, right, which gives you kind of the fear or surprise component to this expression. Okay, I think this is the last one in this series, and this is also pretty well done, right? So pretty well labeled 1 and 2, right, for the full eyebrow raise. 5 included this time, right, showing the whites of the eye, which is great. 12, smile, got it. The one I'm going to dispute is Action Unit 10, right? Action Unit 10 is the lip lifter, right? Upper lid raiser, or upper lip raiser, so essentially one of your sneer components. And remember, it's going that direction. And the two things that you get when you have Action Unit 10 going is you have this furrow lifted, you get the infraorbital furrow lifted, nasolabial furrow arced out, and then you get an elevation in the lip shape, right? Kind of reflecting the insertion of the muscle along the upper margin of the lip, right? So remember, we're looking at something like this. Okay, and it's not present in this image is the point. Action Unit 12 is deepening the furrow, giving us this line, this little break, remember, and down, break there, and that's it, right? The rest of the nasolabial furrow is default. Okay, so that's kind of the big thing there. Okay, and I think this is the last one. This is actually the last one of this series. Yeah, I'm not sure actually if this guy's using Action Unit 15 or if this is just all the jowling in here, right? All just the big deposit of fat sitting in here. It's one of those things where you almost have to see a neutral pose to determine whether or not there's an expression. Likewise with the chin, right? Action Unit 17. This looks like a chin dimple. Not decided whether the mouth is raised or not. So sometimes you can't just read a subtle expression just from a single snapshot, but you have to see a difference between the two to really diagnose it. And certainly a lot of these forms are just a result of being an infant, you know, and having massive amounts of fat just drooping off your face, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's really cute. Okay, so let me see what else I have. Okay, looking at this one, this is obviously a super sad expression. So we've gone from chubby little happy baby, well, chubby grumpy baby to super sad older woman. So quite a distribution of expression. So looking at this, right, what you're kind of getting, and it's a little bit complicated when somebody's either fighting a smile or fighting pure sadness. Often what you get is you get a combination of two things, trying to hold the corner of the mouth steady, right? You get zygomatic major and you get the corner depressor activating at the same time, right? And it's like if you're fighting a smile or if you're fighting tears, it's the same thing, right? So you're getting a combination of both, but the corner of the mouth stays reasonably constant. So again, I hate to speak all mathematically, but it's just like what I was talking about before with vectors, right? If we take this one, and if we take zygomatic major Action Unit 12 and break it into components, right? We have the horizontal and the vertical component. And if we take Action Unit 15 and break it into components, we have the horizontal and the vertical component. More or less, if you again do the vector addition, you get a lot of horizontal pull, and the vertical pulls cancel each other out. And so the corner stays about the same, but you're getting all the stretch and compression. So the lips stretch across this way, and you get some of the deepening of the furrow on both sides, right, as a result. Okay, that was a lot, but that's what's going on here in the mouth. And then up in the brow, right, we have action unit 1 identified, which is true, right? We have kind of this arcing up the middle. But there's a critical component missing of sadness, right? True sadness is always action unit 1, right? So frontalis in the middle, and corrugator, right? So action unit 4. So it's always 1 plus 4. So 4 is essentially pulling down, and 1 is pulling up, right? And so the result is exactly this shape that you're seeing here, right? Down and up, and also because of 4's kind of horizontal component is wrinkling here, right? Giving us that kind of compression in between. But if it was just 1, or if it was just 4 by itself, like anger, it'd be like this, right? These vertical lines would be down here right on the brow of the crest of the nose. But because 1 is activated, it's yanking these 2 vertical lines higher, right? And that's it. That's the sum of those expressions, 1 plus 4. Okay, and again, if you wanted to break it down into these components, you could, and it would work out. And in fact, I think about a lot of expressions this way when I'm sculpting them for characters, right? Okay, this one, let's just have a look through this and see what we see. Actually, in 1 and 2, right? So classic brow up. I agree with that. Kind of, we see wrinkles here, we see wrinkles in the middle. So brow up is fine. Action unit 5, lid raiser, I agree with that, right? We're seeing a lot of white up here, okay? If action unit 5 wasn't active and it was just 1 and 2 up, the line of the lip, the upper lid would be about right here. And because 1 and 2 have pulled up all the skin so much, you'd be seeing a lot of brow thickness here. Right? But because action unit 5 is here, you're only seeing a tiny bit right in here, right? So because it's the levator muscle has pulled the upper lid way back into the orbit. Okay, ignore what I've done there. Now, the real reason I put this on the screen is action unit 10, upper lid lip raiser. No. I'm going to say no to this, just because this is one of the examples of somebody who just has really full pouty upper lips, right? The only expression the only action unit here is 25, right? Lip parts, and it just happens that some people have really full upper lips. Almost their default pose is 25, right? Some people lips don't close very naturally. And that's kind of what she has, right? This is not an expression that we're looking at. And it's not an expression because even if this was a lip shape of expression and it was action unit 10, we would need to see the other components, right? We would need to see nasolabial furrow deepening like this, kind of displacing like this, infraorbital furrow displacing up, right? And in fact, we would get a wide stretch of the lips, right? And it would start to convey what we naturally read as kind of disgust, right? And I don't know if this is going to shade out very well, but again, I don't think saturated blue is a good color for lips either. Saturated red isn't, saturated blue isn't, but hopefully what my voice is saying is explanatory enough that you guys understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's why this isn't Action Unit 10. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to review today, and this is a student who's actually gone ahead and sculpted up a face and then applied expressions to it. So I'll look at the sculpt first, and then I will go through the actions, the action units. Okay, so just a couple quick comments on the sculpt. Neutral pose, right? If you're sculpting or drawing, primarily sculpting, and you're trying to hit a neutral pose, make absolutely sure that your reference is neutral, because in no way are any of these three images of Jim Carrey, profile, front, or three-quarters, neutral. They're not even remotely neutral. This is a bit of Action Unit 14 right there. This is 12, 12 plus a little bit of 7, a little bit of 6, and he's pulling a crazy smirk here with 12 and 14, and just in no way the default pose to reference, okay? Because what you end up getting is, obviously, if you're using this, you're going to get the part of the lips wrong, and the shape of the chin changes entirely, and that's kind of one of the major deficiencies in the sculpt, is that all of this area here is kind of is displaced or misconstructed, just because of you're a little bit chasing your tail if you can't resolve this and this, right? Okay, so that's, as far as neutral pose goes, that's one big deficiency, right? Look at the jaw angles. Jim Carrey's head, if we extrapolated it back, goes back to here, right? This is all back to construction of the skull that we've talked about since week 1, right? We do this. I made you guys draw all this so many times so that you could get all this in place. And remember, ear hole, construct the ear behind that, right? If this is the jaw, we know where the ear hole sits. So all this has to grow back, and that gives a little bit more back to the face. So that's a second problem. In the front view, we can see a little bit more clearly. The eyes are too big, right? Just probably need to shrink those down. Well, essentially this whole thing, probably 25% too big as far as the opening of the eye, and probably the ball of the eye, in fact. And so shrink that. And then again, back to the neutral problem, right? Jim Carrey's chin doesn't look like this. If you're sculpting this without an open, big smile and all this nasolabial furrow, malar fat, essentially all of the expressions active, if you leave this stuff out here and you just sculpt this, you get a fat-looking guy, right? You get a guy that looks like he has jowls hanging out the side, because this, in isolation, does look like it might be kind of a little bit jowly, but combine that shape with all the right stuff for reading and expression, and you have something that's real. Okay, so it's a danger to try to mix and match all that stuff. Okay, and again, if you're setting the line of your lips based on this, that's incorrect, right? Because look at how tight that's pulled across his teeth, right? So you can't really resolve planes based on this. Okay, not only across the mouth, but also across kind of the zygomatic arch, right? Because we have all this malar fat that's displaced from this kind of malar fossa. and it's all bulging out now. So again, hard thing to resolve. So now, that being said, let's look at these expressions and we'll finish off here. Okay, so across the top, 4 and 5, right? So 4 is anger and 5 is eye open. Probably going to lose 5. 4 is corrugator. That's okay. We also have, so when we're looking at corrugator on this image on the right, look at his brow, right? We've got crazy wrinkle going on here. Ooh, crazy wrinkle here. So that makes me think, well, nose wrinkler. Is there anything else going on down there? Yeah, actually we're getting our nice little hooked wrinkles. And if I look down further, the only thing that causes that is action unit 9, right? And that's giving us this hook of the nasolabial furrow around the nostril. And if we guess correctly, we should see a little bit of sneer down here. And so that's true. So we actually have to put action unit 9 in the list. And in fact, I'm going to remove action unit 10 because action unit 10 goes the other direction, right? Action unit 10 gives us this wide sneer. And we're not seeing any of this width, right? In the same way that we've looked at already. Okay, last component, 15. I do see 15. We see 17 in here, a little bit of 17 going up the middle. Right, you see, again, give away the little dimples, so that's giving us this. And I wouldn't say 15 so much in this one, but I would say 16, right? Because we're not seeing the corner pulled down. This 15 is the corner puller. Instead, we're seeing action right on the lower lip, right? On the body of the lip going down this direction. And so that's what we're expecting to see, and that's what you would sculpt. Okay, so I'm going to X15 and I can put 16 there and a little bit of 17. Right, and all those add up to be some kind of a disgust expression. And if you wanted to go crazy, you might even put a little bit of 11 in, right? A little bit of nasolabial furrow deepener. That's quite possible there as well. Okay, now quickly I'll go through these. One, yes. The other thing that we have a component of is we have a little bit of 4. You see a little bit of wrinkling in here, and that's giving us this shape. So 1 plus 4 gives us this little bit of this quizzical look. And then this is 14, pulling the corner of the mouth back, right? So pulling it in towards the teeth is buccinator. So that's not 12 doing that. That's going to be 14. Okay, and a little bit of lip depressor, possibly, and also probably a little bit of 10 up here, right? We're looking at the nasolabial furrow, getting a little bit deep, and also the lip shape here, right? See how it has a little bit of an arc. That little bit of an arc is going to be action unit 10, all right? So looking at that and that. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Just review these. I'll leave these for another time. But yeah, hopefully that's fairly instructive. You guys all got to see a bunch of action units in your own assignments. And hopefully it's getting you used to breaking down what otherwise is really, really complicated expression, emotion into just little pieces. And as soon as you're able to regionalize all the little pieces, right, it makes it really accessible to render expressions, kind of regardless of your medium. So hopefully that's enough to get you guys over the hump. And and week 6 certainly has a few more and rounds it out with a little bit more information on these. Okay, all for now. Thanks.